Foodies, welcome back to another episode of the Culinary Trapping Podcast Sound Bites. Gerald, how you feeling, man?
Feeling marvelous today. Marvelous. It's beautiful outside. It's been raining all day. But I'm still feeling marvelous. I'm feeling blessed. Shout out to our listeners out in Texas. Be safe. And we're praying for you.
I appreciate that. Considering my water went out. It's crazy out here.
Oh, man.
But today is National Drink Wine Day. You know, Jeremy let me know that earlier. And we got a special guest in the building. Gerald from Oba Wines. How you doing, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. Just watching this, I guess it's an ice storm / sleet storm / snowstorm. I don't even know what's going on outside. It's like every 5 minutes the weather's changing out here in Jersey.
Ooh, okay. That sounds dangerous, bro.
Yeah,
Stay home.
It took about an hour to get the ice off the car.
An hour?
It was real iced up outside. Like you basically be a highlight tape and not a good one.
Oh man. I'm sorry to hear that. I've never had to experience that before. Just like snow or like frost, but not like full blown ice on the whip. I wouldn't just go nowhere. I would just almost at that point, I'll just trust my life in a Lyft or Uber because that sounds like too much work.
I've been in the crib all week, bro. I'm just lucky I stocked up enough food to last me. Yeah.
You seen H-E-B empty, boy.
Hey, they cleared Walmart, all that clear it out, yo. Clear it out.
Oh yeah. I definitely saw the videos and like people lined up at certain trash dumps because they were throwing the food out. I'm like, man, I better get some seafood.
Yeah.
I'm like, look.
Yeah. Yo, and then the cops were guarding it. That was the crazy part. You had cops guarding the dumpster, bro. It's like 20.
I never understood
2021 off with a bang, boy. You know what I'm saying? 2020 was like, 2021, it just kept going, boy. It's crazy times we live in. But
we thought we were finished? Never.
Yeah, for real.
2020 in the background.
Right? That bitch said 2020 part 2, man.
For real. So, Gerald, you know, where are you from and what was the food culture like growing up?
So I am from Jersey, but family's from over in Philly and also from down south. So growing up, my great grandma, she used to cook a lot. She made lamb, traditional Southern foods, collard greens and all that. But there was times that I was eating rabbit. Did not know until like most recently in my life. She passed away a couple of years ago, and then talked to my cousin. She's like, "Yeah, you were eating rabbit sometime, not lamb."
Rabbit.
I was so shocked because they were my pets growing up. I would go over the house, play with the rabbits. Maybe they be going. I'm like, oh, they died. They're like, oh man, I guess I choked them too hard or whatever, and boom. And you were eating some rabbits for dinner, but of course, chicken and all that. But my mom. She of course loved making pasta for me. I love pasta. That's my thing. I got my DNA done a couple of years ago. I was actually a little bit hurt that I couldn't verify my Italian heritage and my love for pasta, but that was okay.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'm big on spaghetti. My mom loves making spaghetti and shrimp, spaghetti and clams, and I've now grown accustomed to making baked ziti, and I love just trying new dishes with wine. So like I actually will make pasta with white wine now, just because it may give it a nice, better flavor and taste to it.
You know what you're doing now. Once you incorporate the wine in the cooking, that's like unlocks a whole new flavor profile.
Yeah, that palate,
you know what I'm talking about.
That palate done upgraded.
Oh yeah. It
does. You like, you know what? I'm no longer just doing some olive oil or I'm doing sherry wine. Let's pull some real wine in here.
Yeah.
I even dabbled in putting some scotch in my spaghetti one time.
Oh, that sounds fire.
So it was a little bit more than I was ready for. Because I like I said, I just kind of go by the ancestors. Tell me when to stop pouring.
Oh, okay.
Stop, baby. Stop. Lift up.
That's enough, baby. That's enough.
That's enough, baby. Just stop. But I definitely feel it on the wine and cooking because I think it was not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. I had brought some octopus home, and my mom cooked it in like white wine. It was like white wine, garlic, and then it's crazy the way you cook it is like you put it in the pot, and it's like white wine, garlic, and then you put corks in it too. I don't know why, but that's like I don't know. You might know more about that part, why you would do that, but you put corks in it and it helps with cooking the octopus.
I haven't tried it, but I'm really into Greek food right now, and they do that.
See?
And so I go to this Greek spot up in North Jersey, and man, they serving calamari, and it's not fried, and it's a little bit chewy, and you're just like, oh wow, you could taste the white wine on there. You're like, this is real fresh.
Right. That's what's up, though, man. That's what's up.
So how did you get introduced to wine?
I would say I got introduced to wine after I graduated college. I took my very first job at Liberty Mutual. I found out I was the youngest person in the office. So being the youngest person there, fresh out of college, I'm still drinking hard liquor. All my coworkers, they're like, oh, we don't drink liquor over here. And I'm like, so start drinking. And they were like, oh, we drink wine. I'm like, oh, okay. So I introduced the wine, and I remember I bought a cheap bottle, and they got offended.
Damn.
Oh, man. You remember what bottle it was?
The Barefoot.
It was, no, it wasn't a bear. It wasn't a Barefoot. It was, I think I bought box sangria.
Well, you bought box wine?
Okay.
Hold on, man. It's time out. I know not to do that. I mean, box, like, you didn't even get the bottle?
No, it was, look, man, it was like $15. It was right at the liquor store.
That's when you slap the bag.
Yeah, I got it right out. And I'm like, look, I'm thinking I'm making money, and then I realized I'm not making money, and I can't afford raw wine. I was like, let me just get this box. I could feed a lot of people. When they looked at me, they would say, my manager at the time came up to me. She said, oh, no. Go talk to she said, go talk to your director.
Box so I'm like, wine?
This man almost got fired.
I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, did I mess up? Did I nah? She's like, oh, honey, we don't do this. She says, we do much better.
This man almost got fired.
When I say it was almost like it was like a nice try. She said, nice try, honey. We'll put it to the side.
Oh my gosh.
She literally threw it out and reimbursed me that day. She reimbursed me and said all our wine costs $75 up. They're a good mid-tier wine starting at $50.
Oh, so they was like,
That's I was like,
you just dropped a huge tip for these listeners, man.
Man, don't be bringing no box wine. That's something you keep to yourself, man. Like when it comes to box wine, you keep that in the crib. Yeah, you don't even let nobody see it. You know what I mean? You keep it like not in the pan. You keep that in the closet, man.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna
that nobody go in here.
I'm gonna go pour you up. Let me just stay right here. I'm gonna go pour you up.
Yeah, just stay.
You just go pour in a little jug and all that. People are like, oh, what's this? Oh, just my special mix.
Yeah. It's just a red wine.
I ain't gonna ask no questions. You can lie. And I was like, man, when she threw it in the trash, she was like, honey, we don't do that here. She was like, first of all, and I remember the conversation. She was like, first of all, it has low alcohol percentage. She said, what am I supposed to do with 8%?
Oh, man. Yes, you got a point there. That's juice.
I was like, what do you mean? I was like, look, man, I was like, hard liquor. She was like, oh no. She said, look, we do the hard liquor, but and then she schooled me again. She was like, we don't buy cheap hard liquor.
No.
I'm just like,
dang, I can't do box wine. I can't bring no E&J. What can I bring?
High roller.
No Smirnoff.
High roller.
And that was the thing. It was like, she was like, I know you're young. She said, and I know you're stupid. that was the moment. Just like, this is the real world. This is the real world of people.
So what brands if you remember, what brands did they have there?
Oh, she had a 2000 I want to say 2000 something Bordeaux. So that was the wine. It's a Bordeaux from the French region of France, and it was the one that it just went down so smooth, no tingling, no nothing. I was like, what is this? She said, this is a special occasion wine. I buy it when we get a certain amount of employees, because I worked as a claim adjuster. So it was basically coming out with like, hey, this is a special occasion. You can drink this. Boom. And I was like, wow, this is wine. She's like, yep, it's smooth, and you'll love it. And that was it. I was like, all right, I want to start drinking more wine. But of course, me being young, I'm still drinking heavy liquor. That's always the go-to point. I'm like, look, heavy liquors can get it any day. You're like, all right, look, I'm having a rough day. Let's go drink some scotch.
That's crazy, man. So what caused you to transition from being just drinking wine on that level to actually taking that step forward? Like, hey, I want to start my own wine brand.
It was actually, I was reading the trends. So a couple of years ago, an article came out, and of course, it's about millennials. And so I was checking it out, and it was just talking about all the trends that we are denouncing, things we're starting to do, and how we're hurting retail business and changing everything. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just going along, and I come across beer. And I wasn't a heavy beer drinker. I've tried Heineken. I thought that was disgusting. I tried Bud Light. I thought that was disgusting.
Oh, yeah, that's that old.
And of course, I started drinking Corona. And then as I got like a little bit more refined my beer, I was like, oh, Corona sucks. And then I started drinking a Stella. And now I'm into craft beer. So now I'm like, okay, I'm buying different types of beer. And then right along there, it was like, hey, millennials are killing the beer business. I'm like, I'm killing 10 Coronas a day sometimes. Like, we having fun during the summer. And It was just like the amount of sales that were going down because wine sales were picking up with young adults.
Facts, yeah.
And it was picking up to a pace that it was going to outpace. And it was like within like a couple of years. And so, this year I was kind of talking to my boys, trying to figure out what we can do together. And, a couple of life things happened, so they couldn't jump in at the time. And one thing I saw was that wine subscriptions were going up. All these companies were figuring out, let's do wine subscriptions. And then the wineries started getting into direct shipping to people because of the pandemic. And so I started researching. I was like, okay, what do I need to start my own wine company? I was like, okay, who do I need to reach out to? What wineries actually work with you? Because, you got to have certain wineries can't do it just because of legalities. They don't want to cover the liquor license and all that. So I kind of started looking around the country. Unfortunately, you can't do anything international. Unfortunately, that was like the big hit to me. I was hoping I could work with them, but popped right up. I can go right to California and I can just start working with some wineries out there.
Right.
So it was like really easy, and it was like, okay. And I had to figure out what the term is called, and it was like, oh, it's got to be private label wine. And so I found a winery that actually works with private label, and I did my research. One of the biggest things that popped up was that how you can actually order. Some companies want you to order by the pallet, which that can cost like $13,000 minimum.
I'm gonna say that's a lot. It's a lot of money on those pallets, man.
And you're like, yo, $13,000, and so you got to think about it. And then other one I found worked by the case. So we're trying to figure out which one is better for starting up. And so I went by the case. It was much more feasible for me, kind of get started, and you didn't have to put out as much money. Still had to put out some money, but it wasn't as much putting out $13 and you only get one bottle. Because I think I was looking at the beginning, it was like, well, if I wanted to do 6 bottles, I'd probably been in the hole around $56,000. I'm like, that's student loan money right there.
Oh yeah, it is.
And so that's how I kind of did my research and kind of like jumped into it. I was like, well, better late than never. Let me just start doing it. So I did test the wines. I did about 7 wine tastings just to see what was the best types. I started out with 8. I ended up with 6 wines total, just because I had a Merlot. I like that to call that. That's the hard night Merlot, because you drink that means you had a rough day at work, you had a rough life, and you drinking that. That's just somebody coming over your house. Oh, I need to have a drink with you. And a lot of people didn't like that one. So I was like, okay, that's great. So I was able to kind of whittle down. Then I had a Cabernet. I tried that and I was doing a mixture. I was like, yo, this Cabernet sucks. And then after coming down, I hit my 6 wines. And I'm like, great, this is a great starting point for myself.
So what are the 6 wines? Well, let's start with each wine. So you got 6 of them, right? And so start from the lightest wine to the, darkest wine.
So I have, all my wines are dry. I don't. Okay. I like to call it. I don't do juice.
There you go. Good. I agree.
I don't do juice, but
some people might not. Cam.
And that's the thing. A lot of people love sweet wine, and it reminds them of juice because it's a high sugar content.
I do both, man.
So my first wine is a 2018 Chardonnay Monterey County. So that one is a really high balance of flavor, has nice crisp acidity, and is actually barreled in steel barrels. So it's holding that flavor for you. And so I chose that one. That was really good. And then I went with a 2018 Chardonnay from California, just to kind of give it a different vicinity of the region, because, one wine can be grown in a higher temperatures. It also can you can get different airflow, different moistures. So it can change the way the wine tastes. So my 2018 Chardonnay, it provides like a lot of bold flavor, and there's not a lot of tanning, so you don't get that heavy lip burning feeling sensation on your lips and on your gums. Because like I said, I try to avoid that, because I'm trying to cater to people who are fresh wine drinkers. And I know for a fact if they taste them too bitter or someone's going to make them like quiver their lips, it's going to throw them off. So, and it doesn't have a lot of acidity to it. That's the best part about that. And so then we kind of go to my 2018 Pinot Grigio. So this is also a California brand, high Sacramento area. So it's bodied with Sacramento River water. So, and it has a nice, beautiful flavor. It has pear, nectarines, and apple flavors in it. So it gives you that nice, crisp taste. And you can also enjoy the chill, white wines. They're really good at chill. And, it's high alcohol percentage. It's close to 14%.
Oh, okay. Now we get
I'm looking at them.
I like that right now. I like that.
What is this soil type? What do you mean by that? What's that?
Soil type is the region is. So sometimes you may have a different type of dirt is where it may be in. So like California, different, you may have dry, maybe a little bit moist just because of where it's coming from. So all that can affect the way the types of grapes grow and the type of fruit they may use.
Okay.
So all this takes in combination of how your wine is going to taste and comes out and how you want to age it.
Okay, cool.
So then we go to my red wine. So I love my Pinot Noirs. Like these are my babies. Like I sip on those every day faithfully just because they're really smooth. So I have my 2018 Pinot Noir Central Coast. That is aged in a French oak barrel for 6 months. That is around 14% and is grown in the Santa Maria Valley. So it's giving you a nice high feeling. So it has a nice bright red color. And it has moderate tanning. So once again, like I said, I'm not hitting people too much with the quiver, but you'll taste the cherry and the plums on it. So it kind of gives you that best feeling. Like I want people to be able to bask in and able to taste it, and actually get a full feeling of what the wine brings to you.
Okay.
And then we jump to my 2016 Pinot Noir Chalon. Once again, like I said, 14%. Now that is also a French oak, but it's aged longer. So that's 12 months in the barrel. And that one, it gives a vanilla and pepper hints to it. So you're going to taste it, and also you're going to show a lot of plummet in it. And it's also, extracted in, in the coastal Pinot Noir area. So like you're going to get that coastal feeling of the wine from the water. So, it's giving you a different line of things. And then my final one, I had my 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon. Now that is also 14%. And it's also French oak, but it's aged, in 6 months. So you're not getting as a long age process, but it still provides another bold flavor and moderate tanning, everything. And you actually going to taste a little bit earthy. So you're going to get a reminder that it's coming from the ground. Also, it's made with black cherry. So, try to give people a different amount of things on it. And that way they can be like, all right, wow, this tastes great. And, and I actually throw some black fruits in there, just to give people a little bit more hints. Like, okay, because once again, red wine is actually makes you live longer.
Yeah.
It's healthier.
Yep. This is true. I think one thing I'm loving that I'm hearing is that all these wines, or majority of them, are 14%. I like that.
Got to. I think that's the biggest thing. Like you come out from wine, like, I don't want no low 10% wine. I want something. Maybe after the third bottle, you start putting some old music on. I'm starting to dance.
Third bottle? What?
I'm sorry, what? Third glass.
Whoa! Third glass. Time out. Whoa!
Third glass. After the third glass, my thing is, if you enjoy drinking it, you can cook with it.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting there cooking dinner and I'm drinking it, I got two choices. Yeah, it's going to end up. It's always going to end up right in the food. Or sometimes I'm like, man, I might not even put this in the food. I might just drink this right now. I have to get another bottle.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're like, wait, I was supposed to be cooking dinner.
Carried away.
That's the moment you feel like this. I was supposed to be cooking dinner, and now I'm down 2 bottles.
Wine drunk.
It's different too. Like wine drunk. I think that's why, like you say, as far as like the trends you had mentioned earlier, people started to realize like wine drunk is really like in my opinion, and a lot of people agree with me, wine drunk is like the best kind of drunk to be, in my opinion. Because like you got beer drunk, but you got to drink way too much, and then you feel bloated, and then you're like, But then you have liquor drunk, which is okay, but it's just sometimes hard because you'll be good, and the next thing you know, you're too drunk. Mm-hmm. But wine drunk, you have more control over it. You feel it, and you're just like, yeah, this is good. I feel great. You know what I'm saying?
Smooth,
so
smooth drunkenness.
It's a
smooth drunkenness.
Like, yeah.
It makes you feel better. Like you can still function the next day. That's one thing. Because right now I work in corporate America, so I've been in offices where like I would always go to the VP or the CEO, and I go in and they always have a nice Scotch bar on the side. And I mean, these scotches be like 1956, 1957. And these like, oh, we only sit on occasion. Like these are only occasion drinking. But they would also have a ton of wine in the back. And when I first started getting to corporate America, I'm like, are you alcoholics? Look at me. Who's not? Yeah. Who's not drinking? And so you're like, okay. But then it was like, okay, what's more socially acceptable? Like this. I will sit there in the office, but you have a glass of wine. I'm like, wait, but we working. They're like, as long as you can function, go do your job.
All right. Facts.
I was shocked. That was the moment of like, here's a glass of wine, go do your job. You're like, oh, so I can be a little bit, I can have a great time at work, a little sip of wine, but you can't be drunk on hard liquor at work because you can't function.
Yeah.
Because after you burping people, and then people smell the alcohol in your breath, they're like, nah, are you drunk?
Yeah.
And you're ashamed of it, but they tell you drink a wine, everyone's like this, oh, can I drink with you? It's like a different moment. Like everyone gets happy like this. Oh, you drinking wine? Let's all partake. And
it's a whole different vibe.
It is. I played Call of Duty a couple times drinking wine, and I forgot I was even playing Call of Duty sometimes.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite pastimes. Just drinking wine, either watching my little anime or playing video games. Because I can't do that with hard liquor because I'm like, but. Yeah, wine. You can function with wine. You know what I mean? Like you can do what you gotta do. Like it's
and the best thing about it, you don't.
It's good for you too.
Yeah, it's healthy for you. You don't wake up with a headache, and that's one thing.
Types of hangovers.
As you get older, you start to realize like this. That headache ain't worth it.
Man,
you're like, yo, that headache is not worth it at all. I'm going to pass on that. That wine, I can drink 3 bottles and I'll be good the next day. Go to work, right to work, feel healthy. You just may feel a little bit drowsy a little bit.
Yeah.
So Oba Wines, where did the inspiration for the name come from?
I would say, like I said, a couple years ago, I got my DNA done. I was always curious about where I'm from, being Black, African dysphoria. You're just trying to figure out some things about your family. And I got little hints in there from my family knowing that, hey, they're all from Atlanta. Some have migrated to California and so forth. So I'm like, okay, at least I know where they're at statewide. But I was like, what about after that point? So I got my DNA test done and it popped up. It was like, okay, I'm mostly Western African. And then also it popped up that I was British, a nice chunk. And asked my family, I'm like, hey, who's over in England? I was like, and they're like, oh yeah, you got a couple family members over there.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, okay, so we actually know these people who are in England. That's cool. So then I started digging into what's going on over in Western Africa. And I was like, oh, I'm a good chunk Nigerian. I'm a good chunk Benin. I'm like, okay, Congolese and all that. So I'm like, all right. And then so kind of looking at the wine, I was like, well, I want something that kind of, I don't know too much about my heritage, but like from that standpoint, but I was like, let me just kind of see what's going on. And then I'm really big on black and gold. That's my favorite colors. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want something to kind of like tell people that, that we're always holding ourselves to higher standards. Because that's what people do. They always want them to hold themselves to higher standards. And if you feel yourself, you're more obligation to be the better person at times. And so I stumbled across the word Oba, which meant ruler in Western African. And I was like, perfect. And so I kind of digged around for it, and I looked at some ceremonial swords because I was trying to incorporate some of my British heritage, but I was like, we're not putting no British swords in here. We putting African swords in here. And I found some ceremonial swords, and I found a crown. I was like, perfect. This is what we're going to push.
Yeah, that's dope. So what's some type of advice you would give to somebody who's wanting to start a business and also like get into the wine industry?
The first and foremost thing is you gotta be willing to risk it. I'm a risk taker for everything I do. And I basically understand exactly what I'm getting into. I'm like, whatever. If I lose money, I'm going to lose money. But at least I'm losing money my way. And that is like kind of the first and foremost, because if you're afraid of losing something or you're afraid of taking risk, that's going to be just something that is going to fall to you and hold you back. And after that, I would say do your research. Once you understand what you're getting into, you feel comfortable with it, and aligning yourself with people who you think can support you. So my background is in marketing. So for me, coming out with wine, I'm like, oh, all right, I have two choices. I can either sell people education of wine or sell people on the art of lifestyle of wine. And so I kind of want to do a combination of both, because as I'm selling, I'm like, a lot of people don't know enough about wine. Mm-hmm. Well, I can take my different aspects of branding and marketing and kind of push it like this. And at the beginning, you're going to have rough patches. So you got to understand what you're going through, and you can't sit there and just give up. Like, I think my first week sold nothing. I sold nothing my first week. It was just sitting. It was like, what am I doing wrong? It's wine. And being comfortable and believing in your own product. Because a lot of times I hear people say, oh, your product's too expensive. I'm like, well, you're buying, a cheap brand of liquor, and it's expensive.
Okay.
So I don't understand. I don't understand your math with this one. Like, I don't understand what you think is good or bad. And at the end of the day, let's say you got to believe in yourself. You got to understand exactly what you want to do, and you got to put your passion into it. I'm passionate about everything I do. I hear it in my voice, and like I'm like I said, I'm confident about everything. That is another thing. If I'm not confident in it, you're gonna hear it in my voice. But as a marketer, I gotta believe in everything I say. Gotta believe in everything I do. Like, even if I think this could possibly go wrong, I'm sticking to it. And if it goes wrong, I'm gonna adjust, because that's the only thing you got. Like, you can't sit there and you can't be scared of it. You gotta take it. I'm like, you know what? This is what it is, and I'm gonna do what I have to do to be successful. And if you aren't, chalk it. It's not that bad.
Yeah. You just move on from it. You know what I mean? You just move on from it.
You can't sit there and worry about it. Like, if it goes bad, you have to understand, like, not everyone is meant to do business. Not everyone is meant to come up with their own product. It's not a bad thing. And I think at this point, a lot of people, I like to call them the fake entrepreneurs. They're driving too many people to be entrepreneurs with no business plan, no idea. It's like, no. Some people are better off working in corporate America because they got benefits and a nice paycheck, and they ain't got to risk it.
Yeah.
Other people, that's what it is. This is their passion. They're born leaders. They're not followers, and they got to do what they want to do. And I think you figure out your path, and once you do that, you're like, great. I'm gonna do it this way. And if I don't do it this way, at least I have my morals and I have my education to fall back on.
It's like, you really just got to be honest with yourself, when you set forth with it. And if it doesn't work out, especially speaking to people in my generation, we're still young, and you'll hear from everybody that's older, this is the time to take risks. You don't want to wait till 50, 60. I mean, you still can, don't get me wrong, but now's the time where even if you do mess it up, you still got plenty of time to get it right. If you quit your job today and you start that business and it doesn't work, you can still find another job. Like, you're still young. Like, you still got the experience needed. You can make it happen. But it's just being honest with yourself and taking that leap of faith. And then, especially if you're blessed where you have a job, where you have a little extra time outside of your job, then you need to be hustling. You know what I mean? Straight up. You need to be, if you got the time and your job allows it, you paying on your bills, hey, get on your hustle, man. You feel me?
Yeah. I feel that we all got to figure out a hobby, and at the end of the day, it's like, well, what you want your hobby to be? It's like, my hobby is coming up with businesses and trying to figure out how to accomplish my goals and tasks. Because I always tell people, I don't got time to sit around and cry. I got things I want.
Okay.
Not for real.
Okay.
I got things I want. I see things, like, I like to find things in life. Like, one of my goals is I want a Porsche. That Porsche is always going to be there, but that price is always going to go up.
Yeah.
And I know what Porsches I want. I want the 911 GTS.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I know that boy costs 180. So I was like, I know exactly what I got to do to get that. If I don't get it, that means I didn't work hard enough to get that car.
No excuses.
No excuses.
No excuses.
That's exactly what it is. You can't have any excuses with anything you want to do. Like I said, you got to be passionate about everything.
Have you came across any ties to like Africa and wine?
Actually, I started looking at different wines. There is a couple of African brand wines out there. So I got to continue to read up on it, because one of the things is they charge you a lot for shipping.
I can believe it.
Shipping is a lot to ship alcohol. I don't know if it's because of the pandemic or just because it's alcohol and the weight, but if you order just one bottle, they're going to be like, oh man, like, oh, all right, your bottle was $25, but here's $75 in shipping. It's like order from DoorDash and Uber Eats. You're like, wait, my food is only $10. How am I bills from the 50s? Yeah, the driver, I pay the shipping, I pay Uber Eats and all that. But there are a few brands I want to check out. There's a black-owned, woman-owned business in South Africa. She has her own wine brand and is really popular. And so I've been kind of trying to dig into more of it because there's a couple of things I want to dabble in. I want to start getting into sparkling wine because I know that's a market you can provide flavors. And then my last step will be to get into do a non-alcoholic sparkling wine because I have a lot of friends that don't drink. And one of the things is you want to make sure you can try to cater to other people too outside your market. Right. If my friends can't drink, I'm not bringing alcohol around them. That's point blank. I'm going to bring some water, bring some juice, or I'm going to find non-alcoholic drinks for them. But I'm not going to bring any liquor around them, especially if they're like, hey, I can't do that. So I think it's a couple of brands I'm out there looking at and seeing what they're doing.
Okay, cool.
So like, as far as pairing the wines with the food, like what's your favorite wine pairing when it comes to food?
I love eating fish, and I recently made some perch fish, and I cooked that with a Pinot Grigio. It was, I forget what it was. I just went to the store and picked it up. It wasn't even that expensive. It was like maybe like a $30 bottle, but it had white grapes in it, and it was aged for about 6 months. But when I made that with that perch fish, it was a great meal. Came out. It was I pan seared it. And then I baked it for a little bit. I threw some basil and some grapefruit tomatoes on there. I made some rice to the side, and it came out very well. Like I was kind of bored that day because a lot of times I'm just like, what am I going to make? I'm bored, and if it goes wrong in the kitchen, it just goes wrong. I'm just like, whatever.
I know.
Because once you commit to messing up, you're like this. Man, this is not gonna be bad as hell. I'm done with this, but whatever. I'm gonna stay committed. Just see if it come out looking right. If it looks right, then you're happy. But if it looks bad and tastes bad, you're like, yeah, this is a horrible meal altogether. This was not my night.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna flex. There's been a couple of posts I done put on IG. That food was nasty as hell. But it looked good. I was like, damn, this shit look good as hell. I'm gonna still post it.
You posted, and then you like, know what? It's going right in the trash and order some Ain't no one's gonna know that food.
They be like, what's the recipe? I'd be like, you don't want to know.
Family secret. Family secret, right? I call it trash. Yeah. But yeah, like I my favorite pairing is I love doing white wines with fish and pasta. That's my go-to just because I feel the most comfortable doing that. I don't eat enough. I don't eat a lot of red meat, so I really don't dabble in it. But on Easter, I'm going to be making lamb, and I'm going to figure out what type of wine to mix it with. I think I'm make the white cream sauce. And
lamb, okay.
Put some lamb, and then I'm going to probably pan sear the shrimp with some white wine. But then the cream sauce is going to be in a red wine base. So we're going to see how this goes because I never made lamb before.
I mean, it's kind of like making steak almost, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to like
overcook it.
Yeah, you don't want to overcook it, but high heat, boom, boom, boom. But what I learned too now, I was reading the other day, is like with the usually what most people would do like with steak and lamb is that you'll sear it and then put it in the oven, right? Mm-hmm. Or sous vide, whatever you got. But for real, it's better to do that first and then do the high heat, and it'll be more perfect on the inside. So that's one tip.
About broiling it.
So what I would do is oven, and then if you're gonna broil it, do broiling last. You know what I'm saying? It'll be pretty fire though. It'll be fire.
Because honestly, I don't really care about the lamb at all. I'm more worried about my sauce.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Yeah, definitely gotta sauce it up.
How's my sauce gonna come out, and is it gonna plate correctly? Because like I said, I'm making a white sauce with a red wine base. I'm just like, we gonna see, because I'm just kind of thinking up in my head. Because I was watching Top Chef, and the guy made red wine with a yogurt based sauce. I was like, he got the equipment for that. I was like, I don't got the equipment nor had the time. I was like,
man, you could do that. I'd have made because it's crazy because it's like all the cuisines are like connected. So like think about like Indian food. Like I had that butter chicken before, and that uses like a yogurt based sauce. All you need to do is put in the skillet, just stir it up. Like you ain't got to be all fancy with it. Just get you a little cast iron skillet. You got one cast iron skillet? All right, just you gotta check. You know, some folks don't got one.
I remember I threw my mom's cast iron skillet out. I got yelled at because I thought it was rusted. I was like, it was rusted, and I remember she came in the room yelling at me. She was like, "Why am I skillet?" I was like, "Because it's rusted and dirty." She said, "Boy, that's the flavor."
You're right. Yep. I've seen it before.
That skillet was more important than my life that day.
It
was old too. So my life was in danger that day, but she was like, "Don't throw my skillet out," and she still has it too.
That's crazy. But another question I had, were there any like barriers you faced like because of the color of your skin when getting into the wine industry, or was it kind of just like money is money, money is green, or did you see anything like that?
To them, money is money.
Okay.
They just want to see how it is. Like they're like, okay, you got the money to pay for this wine? That's all they care about. They're like, look,
okay.
Because the winery I partnered with, they're really nice. Sometimes, emails suck. You want to call them up, or I wish I was in California. I could go over there and like, hey, knock on the door. But it was like, hey, like this is what it is. This is how much stuff costs. This is what you're going to put up. This is our shipping process. And you're like, okay. And they're just really straightforward with you. And I'm like, any contracts? Like, no contracts. You just, you pay for it. It's now on you. And they kind of just let me go for it. I would say my biggest hurdle is actually, it kind of sucks, but you kind of work with it. It's speaking to just other Black people, trying to get them to drink more wine. That is the hard part. That is where I had the issue with. Not even an issue, more or less the hardest part, because one, a lot of Black people love drinking sweet wine.
Yeah, they do.
So that is the first hurdle. You have to I gotta try to open that palate up to different types of wine, and so then it's education about the wine. And then the other part is, of course, the price.
Yeah.
The price is what gives people, it's like, trying to work with them, trying to you don't want to explain things why prices are prices. Cause I'm like, hey, I shouldn't have to justify my prices for anyone or anybody. It's like, I know how much stuff is worth. It's out there, you're going to do that or you're not. And so I would say that was the biggest hurdle, is just kind of working with people. And also people who do drink wine, they're like, oh, I can't justify paying X amount of dollars for wine from America. I was like, well, I can understand that, but lo and behold, the wine you bought from overseas, or that someone from overseas, isn't that good as well. So you have wine snobs. So there the wine snobs that are just like, oh, I don't buy American wine. It's like, all right, it's like, what do you think? You buying you think you buying this cheap Malbec is going to help you out? Like, no, that's a bad wine and stuff. Like, let's all calm down and try something new. But I would say the biggest hurdle is just is trying to define your market and just making sure you got the money. Because if you don't have the money, they'll say we'll wait for you, but they don't care.
Right. They on to the next one.
Right. And the next one, they're like, all right, you don't have the money, then we ain't worried about you, and make sure you can pay them on time. So you just try to make sure you price your stuff appropriately, and you're spending the right money on marketing, because they want their money on time and they don't want no delays.
So hold on. So back to convincing Black folks to drink these wines, especially when they're not sweet. What's been the best technique for you to convince them to say, hey, come out your comfort zone, try this out, what techniques have worked for you? Oh, just take okay.
I kind of cut my losses, and I'll host wine tastings. So I'm trying to figure out, how to get out more people. It's kind of hard because of COVID, so you're trying to limit to how many people you want to be around, because you just at times I'm like, all right, we can do wine tasting with 20 people. Wait, hold on, no, 20 people is way too many. Let's back that down. And then also, if I try to have people give reviews. Yeah, that is other thing. And one thing is, if you aren't a dry wine drinker, I have to make sure I can't ask you for a review because you are still trying to figure out dry wines. And so I have to go to someone who drinks dry wine. I'm like, okay, I love this one, because I got some feedback. It was like, all right, I like it, but I wish I would have ordered another one, because now everyone's just kind of going off what I say. And so I try to ask people exactly what you like to drink. If you say you're a sweet wine drinker, I don't even steer people towards the red wine. I go right to the Chardonnays. Because the Chardonnay, I like, hey, it has fruit in there. You're going to taste the apples. You're going to taste the tannins, and you're going to taste the peach. So it's going to be a little bit more like better. And plus, if you want to add ice to it, I don't advocate it. But if you want to add ice to your wine, feel free. Because some people, they love adding ice to it. So I'm like, and you're going to be good. And so I'm like, great, you'll love that. But if someone says, hey, I look, I want something dry, cool. I send right to the Pinot. I'm like, hey, both of these Pinots are going to be good. The Cabernet is going to be good. But I'm like, hey, if you are a dry wine drinker, I'm going to direct you right towards that angle, just because I think you're going to like that better. So I was always like to try to figure out what you're cooking. That way you try to mix it with certain foods. And then, I try to tell people, hey, if you like drinking it, put it in your food. And that's what I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, put that wine in your food. They're like, no, look at this. Man, you over there putting olive oil in your food, man. Replace the olive oil and throw that wine in there. And they get scared. They're like, no. Try it.
That's what you do.
Way better. It's way better.
Try it for the one time. So it's
yeah, and it's like, throw the sherry wine out. We don't use sherry wine.
Oh no, we passed that. We definitely passed that. But it sounds like the Chardonnay is like the intro wine almost, as far as for those converting per se.
It really is. I think there's a wine before that. But from when I was talking to a couple, I actually spoke to a sommelier about it, just to see, how can I like better approach that area. And sommeliers, they go to school for this. They're paid for this stuff, so they know exactly what's going on. And so they say recommend the Chardonnay first. Then they went to they recommend white to red, and they're like, hey, do the Chardonnays and then do the Pinot Grigios. They actually threw a Malbec in there, and then they were like, okay, the Pinot Noir. Then they said, do the Cabernet, and then there was another red at the back. So I was like, okay, so I'm right within that mix of starter wines. So that made me feel comfortable, like the way I was offering the wines to people, especially when they're like the sweet wine drinkers or trying to get people to kind of come off their red wine high. Because people, they love red wine. They ain't trying to switch. They are not trying to switch from their red wine, and they love it. They're like, nah, what are you talking about, white wine? I'm not doing that.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's huge. I definitely want, Black people to get more open into trying new things. So has there been any vineyards that you visited, like, that you really liked?
I visited wine. So I had my favorite one in Jersey. It's called Chemung. They got their wine's a little bit on the sweet side, but I love their wine. They have great flavors and they have a ton of assortment. And it's really local. It's right in South Jersey, so I just go there, pick up the wine, and kind of go there. There's a couple of wineries I want to start tackling and going to more of. I've been heard one. There's one in upstate New York I want to try out. But there's a ton in New Jersey I'm just finding out. And like I just drive through the back part, and I was like, oh, wineries, a winery over here. I'm like, I've never noticed all these wineries when I was a kid, or like even in college. But now it's like I know all the wine signs so it's now just a matter of time just to kind of get into them, and then eventually I want to go to California, go to their wineries, check out my place again. But then actually I want to start going over to France and trying out their wineries, because I know, I know they're a little bit of snobs over there with their wine, because the fact that you can't call anything, you can't call what is it?
Champagne.
Yeah, champagne. You can't call it champagne in America if it's not from France.
Yep.
And I had to leave alone. I was like, oh, that fine is pretty hefty too. If you do that, I was like, yo, I was like, yeah, I can't afford that fine. But I was like, if someone messes that up and gets that fine, I feel sorry for them. They must can afford it.
That was a gem you just dropped right there, boy.
Yeah, most people don't know that Champagne is the specific region in France, and that's the only place in the world. It's a couple of foods like that with wine and cheese, where it's the same thing, where it's that specific region is the only region you can't do it around the world.
And that's crazy. You're like, wait, how can a region trademark that? They're like, nah, we trademark this.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, all right. I guess so. That's why they call it sparkling wine.
Yeah, I see what you did.
You're like, okay, so I can't call it that, but this is technically what it is, but I can't call it that. It's almost like an episode of Family Guy when they were trying to say McDonald's and all that, and it's like, come on, we can't even say the names. They don't own French fries. It was like they called them fresh fries. It was like you all know what you're calling them, but they like we can't call that because if you do, we'll open up the lawsuit.
So, with all the wineries you've been to, would you be interested in opening your own winery?
Yeah, I actually would. That would kind of be my last thing on my list because I'm all about trying to do things with family and friends. I was like, to own a family winery, that would be amazing because that way you can continue to pass it down to your family members and it can be in your family for years and years. So I actually started looking them up how much they cost.
Come on, drop the number, man. We want to hear it.
I did eyeballing. There's a winery in New Jersey that's going up for 3.5.
3.5
million.
We gonna get there. I believe in you, man. You gonna get it.
The cheapest one I saw was around $1.5 million.
And these are not even big wineries, correct? These are these huge or they're kind of small compared to?
They're small. They were small. I said $1 million? I was like, let me check my credit score real quick.
I know. Let me hit the bank real quick. Let me hit my credit union and see what they say.
Because I was thinking about that. I was like, so if I give it 800, will they loan me $1 million? I was like, is that feasible? Like, what I need cash? I actually started thinking about it. I was like, what's feasible? Like, what would it take for me to be able to get this winery? I was like, they probably want a down payment. I was like, what if I give them $25 to like kind of say, hey man, I can back this.
I'm interested.
Sir, 25. You must 25,000, sir? Oh no, that's $25. You must just want a bottle of wine. Go away. I think it's all dependent on the regions that you're trying to look in. I know California's a little bit expensive too. Just because it's California, and it's just like, and I always think it's because of the maintenance of the vineyard you gotta do. You gotta the amount of water you're taking up, and resources, so you gotta kind of consider that as well. So I guess it's kind of all factored into the price. But I was like, it didn't sound too crazy for me, like $1 million. But when I saw that 3.5, that kind of took me back a little bit. I was like, what am I getting for 3.5? I was like, I don't know what to look for in a winery, but I was like, 3.5 million seems a little bit excessive.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when it comes to things like that, like, 'cause I used to be like in the chicken industry, because like a chicken house, like a small one, is about 500,000 started at, So anything when you producing a lot of like a commodity almost, it's gonna be a hefty investment. But I mean, eventually it'll pay off though, because like you said, everybody drinks wine, so.
Yeah, and it's not bad. And I actually found a website. It's called I think it's called LoopNet for vineyards for sale. So you can actually figure out some vineyards and all that was going on for sale. And some of them aren't too excessive, but they're just not in the area. So like I remember I was looking at one like in random areas. Like you can go to I would say Portland. One was like 400,000. So it's totally feasible. It just depends on what area you're looking at and where you're trying to jump in at. I was like, all right, so if you got good land or if it's in I think if it's in a building, it looks like it was cheaper. But if you actually want land and you want to like do everything on a vineyard and all that, that's going to cost you more money, which is weird. You would think something with a giant infrastructure on it would cost more with factory, and that was not the case. So I was like, all right. So I know if I want to make some wine, it's totally feasible, but it all depends on what direction you want to go into.
Definitely an investment indeed.
But once again, we're trying to create generational wealth. So
absolutely,
that's how you do it.
Absolutely,
I think that's something you can pass on to your family. Like that winery is in your family's name.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we get the reparations. We all combine our 40 acres and our meals, and we start a winery.
I mean, you could do that, or you could just start farming. Not really into doing farming right now.
Yeah, I'm not.
Not into too much physical labor, but I mean, you can try anything you want. Like if I get the reparation check, I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm gonna go buy that Porsche.
I swear, man.
I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna invest my money, but then I'm gonna buy that Porsche though.
See, that's why we're not getting stimmies now, man. Come on.
I mean, I did say I'm gonna invest my money too, but I'm gonna make sure I get that Porsche. You gotta get my fancy car. That way I'm parking my mom's driveway, and you never go anywhere because I ain't never driving that car either.
Hey, it's on the goal list, man. So salute that. Gerald, we enjoy your time. Thanks for coming on the show. Jeremy, got any last remarks?
I just want to say once again, Texas, be safe. It's National Drink Wine Day. If you can, find a wine bottle, drink it. And secondly, definitely look into it. As I always tell everybody, Google is free. Look into pairing your wines with food. If you're looking into getting into wines and you're used to drinking, let's say, sangrias and moscatos, the sweet wines, whatever the case is, just look at foods to pair, Chardonnays with and start there. And I think it'll put you on. Like once you start drinking full body wines, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back. So use Google, find the food that you like, I know everybody knows how to cook chicken Alfredo and spaghetti. So just find the wine that pairs with it and then start there and even pour a little in there. So yeah,
for sure. Valentine's that's passed by, a lot of chicken Alfredo was made, Just open up that palate, we can do that with wine.
That's stupid.
For real.
They may gotta wait a couple weeks for it to stock back up because the Walmart was sold out.
Yeah. Probably another week or two we'll be stocked back up. Yeah.
And make sure you keep that box wine in the closet, homies.
Oh yeah.
Don't pull it out.
Don't bring box wine to your parties. Don't even tell people with box wine. If you do have box wine, just put it in a jug and have people pour it out. That way they have no idea.
Or just invest. What I have now is I have my little, what is it called? Decanter? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, it's a decanter.
Yeah. So put your box wine in here and they'll never know.
They'll never. You can't tell what type of wine it is if it's not in the box.
Right. So Gerald, if somebody wants to reach you, where can they find you and where can they purchase the wine?
So if they want to purchase wine, they can go to www.oba.wines.us.com. If they want to reach me, they can go to Gerald at obawines.com. I'm always open, and check me out on Instagram, Blackbeard Vader. I'm always on there posting Motivational Monday things. That's my stuff. I was kind of like point to the future. But that's the best place to find me at.
Okay. Awesome. So this wraps up another episode of the Culinary Trapping Podcast. Sound bites. We'll catch y'all next time. And always remember, real food for real people. Peace.
And real wine.